Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism, Jamaica, which was 17 hours of flying overall, is to really make the statement to everybody that flying is okay, that you can fly again. It's safe to travel. You know, we've done our PCR test. This is the 4th test that I'm doing in just about a week. But it's all happening so quickly, so seamlessly, and you know, the results are quick. And so it allows us to be able to say yes, tourism and travel is back again.
And you are members of UNWTO, and the UNWTO message is very clear, is that the world must work together. We cannot have different countries or different regions doing different things. So I assume that's an important message for Jamaica.
Indeed. In fact, it is a message that has to resonate with all. And it begs some questions. One of it is, how do we achieve this? That's a big one. And achieving it is by collaborating, and achieving it is by not leaving anybody behind. So it brings a level of equity in the whole matter of arranging the tools that are necessary, the biosanitary tools. How can we make sure that the small countries, the highly dependent, less resourced countries, who are critical in all of this, and in fact they are the real source of the experiences, how do we make sure that they are not left behind? And in this whole vaccine diplomacy and vaccine politics that is raging now, where nationalism is taking the front seat, and there's less talk about how do we really collaborate. We're seeing that 1.7 billion doses have so far been given to the world. That's 5.1% of the world. But that doesn't tell the real story. The real story is that less than 1% of the countries of the world have had a second dose at the level of 30% or more. It also tells another story, that 3 countries have literally cornered the majority of that, and in one case 131 million people have had a second dose, while there are 60 countries that are still to get 1% dosage for the first time. So these are real issues if we are going to start together and if we're going to recover in an equitable way. But if we don't, it is going to spell danger, and it is going to cause a humanitarian tragedy that is probably worse than the pandemic. And this is a big point that we need to understand. And I think tourism is a strong voice, and we must make that voice heard, you know, in the powers that matter, that recovery cannot be meaningful. It will be a fleeting illusion, as Bob Marley says, to be pursued but never attained, unless there's equity. And unless the big boys who have the resources are able to enable the smaller guys who have no resources to be able to be healthy too.
Wonderful, very good point, Minister. One last question. Can you tell us about what's happening at the moment in terms of recovery, tourism, vaccination in your own country and the broader Caribbean region?
Well, in my own country, we have been working very hard at following the protocols, comporting with the key protocols. You know, social distancing, wearing a mask, you know, the touchless technology arrangements to enable more of the reduction in the transmission of the disease, since in fact the vector is a human being. So we've been using the quarantine, the lockdown, so to speak, as they call it, and we are also looking at closing borders here, opening borders there to countries. The good news, however, is that we opened our borders on the 15th of June and we've not closed it. We've had variations in terms of how the numbers go, because we manage by science and data. And as those numbers and science improve, then we also relax our restrictions. Since the year, we've had just a little over 400,000 visitors. But of course, that's about 30–40%. But we're growing, and that's good. But there's a second and important part, where the collaboration is concerned, and that's for the region, the Caribbean region. And we're working now with the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Mexico, Panama, 5 of us, in creating a Caribbean passport arrangement that allows for multi-destination tourism, but it also is going to create an opportunity for visitors who, particularly those from the long-haul destinations, coming into our space, can have multiple destination experiences with a package that offers a single price and an opportunity to move from one country to the other seamlessly to enjoy touristic endeavors. So this is important because what it is doing, it is saying that we can converge our interests. We could put aside our competitiveness and we can collaborate. And we could do something else. We can, what they call co-petition. We could engage in co-petition rather than competition. I think that will be a big part of the whole recovery program. The world needs to look to that, and we will be able then to find a common way. And we need these common tools, but the equity that must give us the common tools has to be there, because there's no way I can ask for a single passport for a country that has no vaccination, from a country that doesn't understand how to even deal with the basics of health because they don't have the resources. So we have to work together, and those who have it must be able to pass on. The last thing I want to say on it is the whole business of patents and the liberalization of manufacturing rights to a larger number of countries so that more of the vaccine can be manufactured by a wider group of competent and qualified and technologically capable and efficient manufacturing entities. And so we have to make our voice heard on that. We have to call for this liberalization so that the patents cannot be stuck into one country, but the use of it can be available in many, many other countries where manufacturing capabilities exist. In that way, we'll have far more vaccines available.
Good afternoon from Düsseldorf, Germany. Today is the first day in Düsseldorf where it's a sunny night and bars and restaurants are open to serve people outside. So you can see what it did for the Old Town. The Old Town is known as the longest bar in the world, with bars and restaurants for miles, and people are out there. Social distancing, even though it was required to wear masks in the city, you can see with the amount of alcohol floating, this rule was very bent and weak. However, everyone who is sitting in a restaurant or sitting in a bar outside, you cannot go inside, has to have either a test they need to show, and their testing centers, you can get a test instantly, or it has to be fully vaccinated. So it seems to be working. People have a great time and have fun, and people are thirsty and ready to enjoy a day off from the virus. So let's see how it goes 2 weeks from now, if the numbers are going up or if it was a safe thing to do. It'll be interesting to find out. Enjoy the footage.
Das ist auch vielleicht ein bisschen übertrieben, aber kann lachen.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from Livestream.com and eTurboNews in Honolulu. And with me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow in Texas. And we have a guest. And this guest really doesn't need a lot of introduction. It's Dr. Talib Rifai, joining us from Jordan. I know we always start with the weather report, but I'm not in Hawaii today. I'm actually in Cologne, Germany, where it has been a nice day. It's cold. It's about 50, 45, 9 degrees Celsius, and the city is under lockdown still. COVID very much present here. And well, let's start with our guest, Dr. Talib Rifai, former Secretary General of UNWTO. How's the weather in Jordan and how's everything going on?
It's beautiful. The weather is beautiful here in Jordan, but the COVID situation is still something to challenge us all. I believe that we are in a situation like the rest of the world.
Right. Now, when you look at the rest of the world, looking from the eye of a former Secretary General, what is in your crystal ball? I mean, tourism seems to be opening in some parts, like in Hawaii, where I live, it's
certainly in Texas, it's very open.
The U.S.
Dubai also.
Up, I just came back from Dubai, and the Arabian travel market, we can talk a little bit about later, is opened up in full force, and conferences are going on. And then there are other parts of the world, like here in Germany, where things are very much closed, the borders are closed. How do you? And then we have India. We don't even want to mention India because it's so bad. So I don't know, where's this world heading, Taleb?
I think the problem is that each government is working on its own now still. I said that before, and I want to repeat it again here with you. I think unless the world works together, from regional to international, we're not going to get anywhere. It's not important what each country does on its own. Dubai can do well. Hawaii can do well. Texas can do well. But if the rest of the world can't come to Texas, or Texas cannot go to the rest of the world, there is no need in that. There is no usefulness in this. Travel is about bringing people and places together. So unless governments work together, that's what governments don't understand yet. They need to come up with a certain protocol, harmonized protocol.
Yes,
absolutely. Thanks to Taleb for those words. Part of the problem, I was in not very far away in Mexico,
Europe,
but I had to go through 2 set of tests to be able to get back to the United States. And that was a lot of hassle. It would have been a lot easier if there had been a chip or something in my passport saying that I had already been vaccinated, rather than have to prove it each time. And I think very often we've turned travel into an obstacle course, and we need to go beyond that. So there are parts of the world that are being successful, others that are less successful, but we need to have a general concept around the world of at least standardizations of what counts as being vaccinated.
A minimum.
Yes,
procedure agreement.
Exactly. And can you take an acceptable test someplace that's accepted someplace else? And those are all really important issues that need to be looked at. Here in Texas, the weather isn't so good today. It's kind of rainy, but what is good is the COVID weather forecast, because we basically have gone beyond masks. We have almost no COVID, and no one last week died of COVID, which is really very helpful. And very few people, the hospitals are basically closing their COVID wards and going back to just regular hospitals. So
But Peter, we're talking about tourism, about travel. People want to come to Texas. What people that want to come to Texas have to do to come to Texas?
You have to
keep
show
these jobs alive.
In order, obviously, you need to have a visa, but besides the legal part, as far as COVID goes, you do have to have, before you can board the plane, a negative COVID test. And they are asking now for proof that you have been, that you have health insurance or been vaccinated. But it's pretty easy.
Okay. Very good. But that's something that should become international then.
Can't have a place.
Can't have a place like the UK insisting on quarantine still.
No.
Next to it, a country that wants to make vaccine a passport, only vaccine. And a third country in Europe that says that 72 hours before coming.
We need standardization. We need.
And then you test when you enter. We need exactly. So that the world can come together.
People don't understand the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Because the rules change every day. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of good to know the rules of it. I mean, from my own experience traveling to Germany, with an American passport, you cannot travel to Germany. With a German passport, you cannot travel to the US, even though COVID is good. And then there are countries out there in the European, like Malta, that just declared herd immunity. Is herd immunity even possible?
Not yet, unless you reach an international herd immunity. That's not possible. Now, the idea of having passports determine your status is also unfair. It should be a personal thing. Am I vaccinated? Am I tested? I'm tested regard where I come from, what passport I carry. I should be able to visit any place around the world, including Germany. It's not fair to say that Americans cannot come to Germany. Why Americans can't come to Germany? I mean, some Americans are immune. Some Americans have tested. Some Americans are vaccinated. So it's a personal issue. I think what we need to do is have this testing become more popular, more affordable, more available, because vaccination is also a bit blown out of proportion.
You know,
in order to accept vaccination, we need to vaccinate the whole world before we can declare free travel. Vaccinating the whole world would take 70% of the world would take at least 5 years to do that. That's not possible.
No. One of the things I've suggested in Mexico is that we have free testing centers at the airport with instant testing, so that people are not running around the city looking for a place to get tested. We can tell you, be at the airport 4 hours early and you'll have your test and you're good to go. I think we need to think through simplification, and we have made simple complicated rather than making complicated simple. And
you're right.
I'm trying to switch around the world to get concepts, because in today, security and biosecurity, which is in Spanish, it's called la bioseguridad, which is really health and health security, are interconnected. And so we need to, just like you have to go through a machine to make sure that you're not carrying a weapon, in the same way, let's make it simple and that everybody can have everything done at the airport. 1, 2, 3, done.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
Now, when you look
plus also there is the insurance policies also.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jürgen.
Now, when you look at, for example, at Africa, in Africa, of course, many regions are dependent on. They didn't have business for a year. They don't have the financial resources to just survive this type of situation for too much longer. How do you think, would you agree that people that are vaccinated, like many of us in the United States, for example, more and more, should be able to freely travel also to destinations in Africa? Or would you think it's unfair for vaccinated people to travel and non-vaccinated people unable to travel?
That's a bit unfair. Don't want to turn it into a political game of those that have it, those that not. For example, an opportunity to take a long time. So I think testing is more people travel if they're tested or vaccinated. This passport should be for testing and vaccination all together.
Okay. So I think that's basically where most of the world is. It's about testing. And testing,
yes.
A freelance has to be more affordable. In Dubai, you pay about $50 for a test. In the US, the same test costs you $105.
Affordable and available. Affordable and available. Yes.
And available. Yes.
Definitely.
Really, testing should be for free. Testing should be just something added to your airline
the Koreans, just like your vaccine is free.
Yeah.
Governments are buying the vaccine.
When I was in Mexico this week, I spoke at a major conference and a news conference, and what they did is they had free testing. So whenever everybody in the conference, no one needed to wear a mask, because everyone at that place was totally tested, including the waiters. And you were tested in 5 minutes and it was free.
In Germany, Peter, you go to a shopping center and at the door you get tested before you get in.
Yeah.
So testing is available. So every part of the world is different. I wanted to just maybe say a few words in regards to the Arabian travel market, what was just concluded. And I think the Arabian travel market really set a new trend that travel shows may be possible again. And I think WTTC started this with their summit in Cancun. The Arabian travel market Dubai is the second phase. And so far out of Cancun, we haven't seen any spike of corona cases or any cluster developing out of this conference. And I'm thinking not going to see this in Dubai either. So maybe this industry is somehow coming back together, probably not the same way it was before. I also think in the meeting and incentive market, business travel will suffer because people can meet on Zoom. But personal conferences, personal trade shows, there seems to be room for this to restart this. How do you see this, Peter?
I think we're going to see it. I think it's going to be in a lesser level because of the fact that, yes, many things we're getting used to being on Zoom. And the longer we are on Zoom, the more comfortable we get with that. On the other hand, most of us need personal interaction. And you cannot substitute a really good business meeting for purely on Zoom. So I think it will be lesser, maybe smaller meetings, but more often. But really the key is going to be how simple or complicated we make travel. If travel becomes a series of one hassles after another, people are not going to do it. If on the other hand, we figure out simple ways to do things, we're going to be able to, I think, get the meetings and industry back going again pretty quickly, because a lot of people are tired of just being on Zoom. So this is where we have to have cooperation. And the real issue is we need the travel industry and governments to be, and health and departments of health to be working together so that we're all on the same page. If we're not,
Ministers of Travel and Tourism, Ministers of Health, and Prime Ministers even must come together.
Yes.
They must come together. And if I were still at UNWTO, I'll put them all in one room and say you're not leaving the room until you agree on something.
And you have to wear a mask until you come to an agreement.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, but you're not, unfortunately. And the UNWTO, I think, has really failed to a great extent in doing these types of activities. It should be the leader and bringing people together. I haven't seen it happen. So other people are going to have to do it.
Okay. Now, to be fair, it's not just the UNWTO.
No.
It's the multilateral system. All the UN is not working well.
No, everybody. Together, the bottom line is we haven't had the type of leadership we need to go beyond this and to move. And there needs to be simple solutions where we have a golden passport of some level, where it makes it easy, where people are able to get tests easily, where we have to come up with, some people cannot take the vaccine for medical reasons, but we cannot discriminate against them. So we have to come up with but we can't make this complicated. It can't raise your stress and your anxiety because no one's going to travel to get more stress. And we need to
travel just because the government say you can travel.
Yes, exactly.
They need to have a peace of mind.
Yes.
And hopefully, because
in Korea, they told me there are 3 things: testing, tracing, and treatment.
Yes.
Right.
Which I think are 3 T's. That's a very, very intelligent way of dealing with the situation.
And Korea has been leading from the beginning. The numbers were economical. Korea was able to keep the numbers out. But then, of course, like Seoul is such a dense city, and we have seen spikes with all the precaution in place. And hopefully now with the vaccine, this will change. But it is strange to see that some industrial destinations like Korea have a problem getting enough vaccine. I just don't understand. It's the same problem here in Germany. We should have a lot more people vaccinated in Germany than there are right now. And then you look at the US, and within a very short time, the vaccination percentage went up tremendously. So I think
into a game of those that have it and those that don't.
Yes. And I think for future, we're learning. Everyone is in a learning phase, and we have to do life learning, unfortunately, but it's not easy to do. And there simply is no streamlining. I mean, you go to destinations like here. I'm in the city of Cologne. Everything is locked down. There's a curfew in place. I'm going 30 miles away to the city of Düsseldorf and it's open. So this is within one country. So can you imagine living within regions in one country and then traveling?
Every local government even is working alone, but that's understandable.
Yes.
Because everyone is stressing on the issue of safety and security. Lives of people matter most. But then how to balance that life with livelihood, life with work, life with open up. That balance cannot be done unless people work together, governments work together. It's in the hands of governments, unfortunately, not in the hands of anybody else. They're the ones that are pulling the shots now.
It's not even governments. It's often bureaucrats within governments. Or
right.
And very often when I challenge some of the questions that are going on, and sometimes it's just political. People criticize Texas when we decided to go beyond it. And meanwhile, Texas went from a high rate of COVID with masks to a very low rate of COVID, to almost nothing. So the governor here was 100% correct. The federal government was wrong. And today, business is coming back. Hotels are full. They do ask people to wash their hands and to maintain a certain amount of social distancing, but life has resumed very successfully in Texas. And you don't feel the depression that we felt a few months ago.
I know, Peter, but to be able to bring life to Texas, you must have all the states, United States. It's called
Yes.
United States.
Yes. It's
United States.
Yes. Of course, it's so big here. It's a long way to the next border. But the schools are open. One of the big problems we had during COVID was the very high rate of suicide by children who are locked in their homes.
Of course.
And by now opening up the schools, the rate of COVID is small, but the suicides have now gone down. And teachers are able to see if there's a problem. They're able to get social workers back to again.
Doing a good job, but what we want is the United States altogether.
Yes.
North America, United States and Canada, for example.
Yes.
Canada is still testing on quarantine.
No.
How can you do that? Two neighboring countries.
The border is closed right now.
I know, because it's quarantine.
Yes, the border is closed, which is very hard because if I want to do business in Canada, I can only do a speech via Zoom. I can't go to Canada.
That's
so
right.
It's a real problem. But I think the real issue is, if we summarize this, because I don't think we should make the session too long, is there's a need for, one, the use of science to go beyond politics. Two, we need to have international standards. Three, we need to all work together. And four, we need to come up with new concepts that are able to do it. I have to go to a major luncheon now, so I'm going to have to say goodbye. But I wish everybody a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you very much for attending, everybody. You needed to look at the archive for this session. You just go to eTurboNews.com, and on livestream.travel, you will see archive for this and many other sessions. And for those of you that don't know the World Tourism Network yet, an organization we're a founding member of, and also Dr. Taleb Rifai is part of, you should join us. Just go to WTN.travel, and you can see what we're doing, who our members are, and hopefully you will join us. But Taleb, thank you so much for attending today's news session.
Thank you. I'm always there to know that you're.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure having you. I hope you stay safe in Jordan. And for those of you who have not traveled to Jordan, once Jordan is opening, I don't know if Jordan is open for travel. It's a wonderful place to visit.
It's a wonderful place. We're creating safe havens in Aqaba, in the Dead Sea area, bubbles, which is very, very important also. You feel much safer when you're in the Dead Sea, for example, or in Aqaba. And the Golden Triangle, Petra, Wadi Rum. It's going to be declared a safe haven.
And Petra, it's such a mystical place. And there's a lot of distancing. It's in the desert, you know. You can actually sleep under a tent and see the stars, and you can actually listen to the silence.
Yeah. Yes, and the weather is fantastic now. Now is the time to come to Jordan.
Well, it's the place to go. So thank you very much, Talib, and I hope we see you again soon. And
Thank you.
for your weekend. I know it's weekend there now because it's your Friday. Thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Beaches is all about families, and keeping your family safe is our #1 priority. That's why we created our Platinum Protocol of Cleanliness, setting a new standard of excellence in health and safety protocols to give you a worry-free destination wedding of a lifetime. Beaches was built on connection. Connecting with family and friends, celebrating old times, and creating new beginnings. And we know the love you have for your family and having them there for the most special time of your life is what's most important. At Beaches, you can still have that happily ever after with a fully customized destination wedding surrounded by the people who mean the most to you. You can feel safe saying "I do" in a lush tropical garden, or walking down a white sand aisle with a calm blue sea as your backdrop. Our wedding venues are found in wide open spaces, nature-made for celebrating your love. And while we've always led the industry in health and safety protocols, our resorts are even safer now than ever, giving you a wedding free of worries, surrounded by love. That's why we've reduced the capacity of our venues and put more physical distance between guests. Instead of tables for 8 at your reception, we'll seat only 6 guests per table. We've eliminated buffets and specialty food stations, so all food will be plated and served by Beaches staff wearing masks. We're even offering Livestream service of your wedding ceremony, so your friends and family who can't travel right now can still share in your special day. Once the vows have been exchanged, the honeymoon of a lifetime begins. And we're taking every measure necessary to ensure your health and safety during your stay at Beaches. As part of the Sandals Resorts family, we've followed in their footsteps in setting a new standard of excellence with our Platinum Protocol of Cleanliness. Together with the extensive research from local ministries and health officials, the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization, Beaches has instituted advanced hygiene practices across 18 key touchpoints. A triple check system that includes inspecting, cleaning, and sanitizing hard surfaces and common areas every 20 minutes. Adding auto-dispensing hand sanitizing stations throughout the resort. To ensure the utmost safety, Beaches will be using hospital-grade disinfectants, electrostatic sprayers for advanced cleaning, UV lighting equipment to inspect cleanliness, and air duct sanitization for each room before every guest's arrival. We've gone so far as to steam clean and sanitize carpeting and flooring prior to arrivals, and placing personal hand sanitizers in every guest room. For added safety, all staff members are required to wear protective face gear at all times. And from now on, guests can check in online at home, so they can bypass the front desk and go directly to their rooms. Stricter physical distancing protocols have also been put in place in every part of the resort. Chlorine and pH levels at all our pools and water parks are monitored every 2 hours. And we've taken added measures to protect the health and safety of your family. Our kids' camps facilities are sanitized before and after each use. And all of our professional nannies carry pocket-sized bottles of hand sanitizer. Our tween and teen hangouts, including the Xbox Play Lounge and Trench Town, are sanitized before and after each use with hospital-grade disinfectants. In addition, all our spa facilities and sports equipment will be sanitized before and after use to protect the health and safety of our guests and their families. Both Sandals and Beaches are committed to providing strict compliance and implementation of these safety protocols. So much so that we've created a dedicated quality inspection team at each resort to make sure all safety measures are adhered to. We can't wait to help you make your dreams come true with a destination wedding at Beaches. And while you're focused on your new life together, surrounded by those you love the most, we'll take care of everything else.